Again, hello everybody to those who are watching this video. My name is Carlan and I'll be giving you a discussion on AP Biology, Big Idea 3. So, what topic I'm going to cover in this big idea is both speciation and hybrid barriers. So, these both deal with the creation of new species, or new hybrids. So, let's begin off. So, here's a little outline of what we're going to cover in our discussion. So, first we have speciation and its aspects with both allopatric speciation and sympatric speciation, and then the hybrid barriers, which include both the prezygotic and postzygotic barriers. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. So first, let's talk about speciation. So what is this speciation we're talking about? So basically, this is what can be described as basically the origin of species that are common today. So what this actually occurs is species are divided into different subspecies, or just two different species. So one parent species or a common ancestor will experience different will basically be evolved into two different species, and this can be due to environmental conditions or genetic variation. So I'll just show you a quick diagram of what I'm talking about here. So basically, let's see a speciation model right here really quickly. So what's occurring here is that the parent species right here is this parent species is just living along, and then bam, speciation. So what actually occurs here is that this is the division of the species. So this can actually occur gradually, or this can occur through punctually. So as you can see, species A could be different than the parent species, and species B is different than both species A and then the parent species. So this is just a diagram of what's really occurring in speciation. So let's get more into this on how speciation actually occurs. So how does it really occur? So let's first talk about the first aspect of speciation, which is allopatric speciation. So what actually occurs here is, first, this involves a geographic barrier that causes isolation. So what this means is that a geographic barrier, like a mountain or a river or a canyon, can separate one population into subpopulations. So this occurs. This is where species cannot contact the populations cannot contact each other, which interrupts gene flow from each species. So when gene flow is interrupted, this means that species cannot contact each other and the gene pools are separated. So what actually occurs here after it is that natural selection, mutations, and genetic drift start to kick in. So natural selection is just organisms with the best adapted traits will survive to reproduce, and the others will not reproduce these traits that they can pass on. So those the best traits will start to dominate the population. Mutations is the arise of a new gene or a new allele in the population from an individual due to a certain mutation in the DNA. And then we have genetic drift, which is the changes in gene frequency allele frequency, due to the chance events. So these will give rise to new species. So let's get started. With allopatric speciation, here I drew a model. So, as you can see, number one, we have the whole parent population. So this is just the one population, the original, that is just living along and living and such. And then here's, you can see the parent population has the same environmental conditions, so nothing's different. That's why they're the parent population. Next, we have number two is then we have a geographic barrier that just suddenly occurs. So in our case, an earthquake causes a canyon to form. So from a divergent boundary, a canyon starts to form and then separates the population into two. So you have population A and population B. So parent population, they're separated into two different subpopulations. So three, finally, is the subpopulations. You can see is population A and population B now. I'm sorry. What happened is that the reason that these populations are different colors is because speciation occurred when these species actually changed. So you can see these subpopulations undergo natural selection to survive to their different environments that are separate on population 1 and population 2. And they also are subject to genetic drift, which is changes in the allele frequencies, and it decreases the total gene pool, and alleles that were uncommon in the total parent population due to genetic drift, a chance event. Then one of these populations, that gene frequency cannot be large, so this alters the allele frequencies. And then mutations also occur in the different populations, so this results in more variation, and then also can give rise to new alleles, which further separate the population. So this is one method of speciation. Next, sympatric speciation. So here, as you can see, I highlight that there is actually no geographic barrier involved. So this speciation occurs in the same area, yet meaning it's actually rarer to occur than allopatric speciation. Even though I read somewhere it's more common, but anyways, it occurs in one population. So this occurs in the same area, and it requires the emergence of a reproductive barrier. So that means that these populations, the subpopulations within the one big population, the reason that they become speciated is because the reproductive barrier does not allow them to reproduce anymore. So how does this occur? Through mainly polyploid or mutations. So meaning this is actually the addition of extra chromosomes to their to these populations. So that means these new mutations resulting in organisms with more amounts of chromosomes, so they can't mate with the parent populations, yet they can mate with each other. Then we have sexual selection, which is basically the female chooses who they like. And then the habitat differentiation, I can get more into how they exploit different resources, and that gives rise to new species. Alright? So first, the parent population. You can see here again that the parent population is just living along, and they are subject to the same environmental conditions. And then speciation occurs. So what we have here, you can still see this is kind of the old populations are still dark and the same color and stuff, and then you have the new population, see the brighter color. But what this just mainly represents is that a new species has arrived due to reproductive isolation within the same environment, within the same area, even though they're the same environmental conditions. So getting more into how this actually occurs, we have polyploidy mutations. So what this actually occurs is that two types of polyploid organisms can be created from these mutations of chromosomes. So we have polyploids. So what these are is that the chromosome number is 4N, which is a much larger number than the regular chromosome number 2N, which are 46 chromosomes within the regular body. And allopolyploid, you have 2N equals 10, which actually occurs from over time when autopolyploids and other normal gametes combine. So it creates it basically creates n times 5, which is a larger number too. So what these thing about these polyploid organisms is that they can't mate with the parent population to create normal gametes or offspring, but when they mate with each other, that actually gives rise to viable and fertile offspring. So that's where these new populations come in and new species. So we have habitat differentiation. This actually occurs when one population exploits a separate resource than the other population. So this can occur from a parent population and then the younger generation from it. So I can see the older population, I'll say it's this one. These flies, they like the flowers on land that have these diamond-shaped berries, even though you wouldn't really see that. But then you have these new flies, the younger flies. They like these berries that are over water. So they live in the habitat over here. These live in the habitat over there. These use these resources. They use these resources. Therefore, start to differentiate in what they do. Lastly, we have sexual selection. So this is actually when females choose select males based off their appearance. So you can see these females; these look like the same type of females, but they like the different males based on their appearance. So let's say this male, he has a bigger jaw and then a top fin and a bottom fin only. This female likes them. And then you have this female. They have the he has a pointy mouth, and then he has side fins and then a top fin still. But she likes his male, she likes this male. So they start to mate with each other and give rise to different looking species. So this is where sexual selection comes in. So now that we've gone over speciation, the next topic of hybridization. Basically, this is when two separate species actually mate with each other to actually get different species. They get hybrids. So hybrids are basically a combination of two different species. So hybrids